All right, everybody. Well, welcome to the March 14th special Pi Day session of the Data for Good Regina meetup. Today, we're going to be talking with Ross Gadzella about how they do continuous improvement using data at Great Western Brewing. Ross will get into it a little bit, but before we get started, I do want to say a few words about Data for Good, as well as some of the things, give everybody an update on some of the things we're doing and have actively ongoing, as well as just put a call out for some extra help that we might need. Okay. So if you don't know Data for Good, if this is your first time to one of our meetups, we are a group of data and AI enthusiasts that focuses on building a data community within Regina and more broadly in Saskatchewan, and then also helping nonprofits by leveraging our awesome volunteers, our awesome data professionals that we work with to help produce real data products and dashboarding and reporting for nonprofit organizations. They tend to not have the funds to support getting great value out of their data, and we tend to have the people who are really good at that. So we find that it's a fantastic synergy where we can really add a lot of value and drive a lot of social impact by helping these groups out. We are part of a national body, so there's a larger organization of Data for Good, one that covers each of our individual, like one for essentially across the country. Most major cities, major centers have a Data for Good chapter. We generally try to do monthly meetups, but depending on just because we rely on volunteers, we tend to, sometimes it's monthly, sometimes it's bi-monthly. Just depends a little bit on kind of what we have going on and the amount of help that we have. If you're interested in getting involved or finding out more about what we do I'm going to post a link in the chat to Regina Data for Good, our website, as well as our meetup page, which I'll talk a little bit more later here because I've got a bit of an update on that. Our leadership, my slides are all funny today, but our leadership as it stands right now is myself and Scott Wells are our two prime co-leads, and we've also got Chuck Plant up in Saskatoon. He's our Saskatoon co-lead, and Josh West, who helps us out on the website side and a lot of our marketing and things like that. So just right now, just as an update for everybody, we have had a couple of past projects, things with Sexual Assault Services Saskatchewan. We've done some great work with the Regina Food Bank. And recently, we've just wrapped up a project with Sask Rugby, which we're hoping to talk about in the near future here, as well as the Regina Public Library. We're just wrapping one of those up. Right now, we have a couple of really exciting projects on the go, and a lot of the people I'm seeing on the call are people who are involved in one of these two. We are going to be launching a nonprofit data accelerator program, a startup-based program, or a program structured much like a startup program where we pair up our data professionals, our senior data professionals, data mentees, and nonprofit professionals from 6 different nonprofits around Regina to help upskill them in data and produce some actual reporting for them, ultimately all culminating in a demo day later in June. We also have some work being done to help support a lot of the community in Regina and in Saskatchewan more broadly in building out some free dashboards, surfacing some of the very valuable public data sets and making them accessible to the community, being led by Scott Wells and Dylan Edgar. And so that's another one we have on the go. We're still, with that one, there's a few people still just asking about that one. We are still working on figuring out the list of folks to help out with that. And for those folks who have identified themselves as interested, we'll be in touch in the near future. Just a little highlight for everybody, just in terms of some upcoming events that we have. We do have the Nonprofit Data Accelerator Program starting March 28th. Not everything is on Thursday, 6:30 to 8:30, by the way. That's just a typo on my slides, but we do have the Nonprofit Data Accelerator Program kicking off at that time on March 28th. So that one's coming up real fast. I'll be facilitating that. So we'll get started very, very soon. We're not going to be having a meetup in April, but starting in May, we're going to have another meetup where we're going to have some folks come out from some projects that we've done in the past, show off some of the work that's been done, and do a bit of a debrief on what we've learned and what the impact of these projects are, to kind of give you some idea of how we do projects and the types of things that you do if you get involved with Data for Good and want to be a volunteer. And last but not least, we are really, really hoping that what we're doing is our demo day for the Nonprofit Data Accelerator is on June 27th. That's my apologies. A typo on my part. I'll fix that when I send these out, June 27th. And actually what we're working on there is we are working on trying to make it a more of a community social event as well. We don't have anything confirmed yet, but I just wanted to kind of tease that for you folks. More information will be coming out about that. And the hope will be that we're going to be able to bring out our membership, meet you all in person, and get a chance to kind of talk data. And just the last couple things, we do need your help. We are rebooting Data for Good, like I talked about at the last meetup. We have a lot of different things on the go, and we are looking to get more involvement where possible. Scott and I right now are doing most of this ourselves. So that's why there's typos in my slides, because we do these things kind of on the side of our desks or on our spare time. So we are trying to build out the organization a little bit more. So we do have some roles that we would really be we would really appreciate if there were some folks who would be interested in helping us out on a few of these things. Specifically, we are looking for somebody who can help us with some of the content that we're putting out on LinkedIn and for our meetup page, finding articles around data that we can share with people, good information that we can spread around our data community, things like that to kind of help grow and build that community of practice. We're looking for somebody who can help us out with some of the project admin and some of the administrative pieces. One of the bottlenecks we have with projects is while we can often get a project up and running, there's not a lot of consistency. We don't have our documentation in really great shape or anything like that. And so we could use some help with that. And last but not least, we are looking at doing more events. Right now, I'm doing most of the work to set all of these things up. So anybody who wants to help out with getting some of our events off the ground and planning these things would be extremely valuable. From a data professional perspective, as you're looking to grow your career, it's these types of things, these extra skills you can build that ultimately really shine in addition to your technical data skills. So I'll put a plug in for these things as well, because I think they can really help grow that portfolio and show that you have a really wide range of skills. And plus you get to work with me and Scott, and you'll get to hear lots of good dad jokes. So if you're interested, reach out to me at ryan.tessier@dataforgood.ca, or you can also just, if there's any questions about it, let me know. I'm happy to answer anything. Just send an email to me and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can, because we would really love to have you as part of the team, helping us out and helping us build out this really cool organization again. One last thing, I know, Ross, you're itching to get started here. I just want to give everybody a notification because I know that there are some folks joining from Data for Good Saskatoon. We have a meetup page for Data for Good Saskatoon. We are looking to consolidate in the near future into one meetup page. Whether we use Meetup in the future or not, we're still kind of working on what our tech platform is going to look like, but we are looking to consolidate into a single provincial body, Data for Good Saskatchewan or Data for Good Regina and Saskatoon. We're still figuring that out. But one thing I'm going to do is right now we're posting the events both on Data for Good Saskatoon and Data for Good Regina. By the end of this year or by the summer, I'm hoping to transition that all to the one page. So I just want to give you all a notification about that. If you're from Data for Good Saskatoon, please go ahead and jump onto the Regina page because you'll get all the same updates. Okay. And then last but not least, we're also trying to grow our LinkedIn page. We're using it because we find that a lot more professionals are on LinkedIn. So for growing our base of volunteers, we're finding that it's a helpful way to reach out to the broader data community. And then also as we bring in guest speakers like Ross, talking about really awesome stuff that they're doing with data, we find there's a lot of public interest as well. So it's a really nice place to house all that stuff as we're looking to grow and expand and build the organization. That's all I've got. I'll lead into Ross's talk, but Scott, I just wanted to give you a chance. Is there anything I missed here or anything you want to add to any of this?
No, the only other piece is just you did a great job of kind of highlighting the needs that we have, Ryan. And I think the biggest piece for a lot of folks, we've seen individuals that have come in and done work on projects or otherwise, get promotions or things like that. And so we do a really good job of promoting folks, especially in the data community. It's fairly small. And so anything we can do to help folks in their career, that's great. And so these are awesome, awesome opportunities, but you may not be the person that wants to do that. You may know someone else that might be great for some of these. And we would be really, really appreciative if you pass that on as well. If you thought, there might be someone that just wanted to get involved.
Yep. And you can, like I said, I'm always compulsive email checker. So ryan.tessier@dataforgood.ca. If you want to reach out to me with any of these questions, feel free. But now we are going to get into what you all came here for. We're going to be talking with Ross Gadzella. Ross is the business intelligence manager at Great West Brewing. If you don't know Great West Brewing, they are a fantastic locally owned local company here in Saskatchewan that delivers alcoholic beverages to a number of different business verticals. They have sponsorships and work with groups across all of Western Canada. And Ross has the fun job of getting to do the beer analytics, managing the team over there that builds out the reports, looks for continuous improvement opportunities, and how they can grow their business using data and analytics. So I don't want to spoil too much of Ross's talk, so I'm going to turn it over to him. Ross, thanks so much for coming out, and want to hear more.
Awesome. Just making sure, can everybody see my screen? Awesome.
Yep, we're good.
All right. Yeah, I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for having me on to share a little bit about doing data analytics in the beer world. So I'll start just by sharing a little bit about Great Western Brewing. So the brewery was actually built back in 1927, just about 100 years old, as Hub City Brewing. It's changed hands a number of times over the years, but in 1989, Molson decided to close the brewery, and 16 frontline employees pooled their resources together in order to save the brewery. And 34 years later, we've still got Great Western as one of the largest regional brewers in the country, producing awesome beer and supporting our local communities. This is our brewery here in Saskatoon. We're just on 2nd Ave in Saskatoon. We are in the process of trying to build a new brewery on the same site. So on the south side of our lot, we're going to have a new brewery. It's been delayed a little bit. Building costs and supply chain shortages and all those kind of things have caused delays in the project, but we're hoping in the next couple of years we'll have new beer running through our brewery still on the same site. So I just wanted to talk about, before I get into data, kind of what makes Great Western different than other beer companies that you might be aware of. And one of the things I find really important and really great is that we're a Western Canadian owned and an independent brewery. A lot of the other beer companies out there that you're buying beer from are Brazilian owned, American owned, Japanese owned. We're really here in Saskatchewan, and we're supporting Western Canadian. We also make great beer. So even our value beers, they're fantastic quality and consistent. I think me and my team, one of the funnest things coming to work every day is that we are underdogs. So we're coming to work every day as a David and Goliath type story. We're fighting the big guys, and we're really trying to secure the future of regional brewing in Western Canada. And we really believe in true partnership. And when we enter a partnership, we want to make sure that it makes sense for both of us. We're not just handing a check over and barking orders. We're really trying to invest in our communities and make a difference with our partnerships. I just wanted to feature, like, these are the products that we make. You're probably familiar with Original 16, which is named after our Original 16 founders. We just launched Original 16 Zero in January. And as a result of a lot of analytics of the growth that we're seeing in the non-alcoholic space, and it's doing really well. If you haven't tried it, go out and find it at your local liquor store. We also sell Great Western. This is our flagship brand in Saskatchewan. And then our value brands, the main one is Brewhouse. We've got a few other value brands as well. We also launched a line of vodka-based RTDs, ready-to-drink beverages, last year. And you can find those in a variety pack. I want to talk a bit about our partnership. So we're a small company, right around 100 employees, but we've become the official beer of the Calgary Flames. We sponsor almost every sports team in Saskatchewan. There's one little team that you might be aware of that we don't have a sponsorship for, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But besides that, We've got a lot of the teams in the province, and we would love to be the official beer of the Riders eventually as well. I want to talk about our team structure. So we've got an internal business intelligence team. So that's myself and Mike Lawsett, who's a part of Data for Good as well. He did a project with the with Sask Rugby recently, and he reports to me. We do a lot of the front end insights and analysis at the brewery. It is a new team, only in the last couple of years that Great Western's had data analytics. And in order to build out a lot of the tools and infrastructure, we work with an external group called Function Group Analytics, led by Sean, and he's done a really great job helping build all the infrastructure that we need, and does a lot of the more data science type projects. And then Adel has helped us to move our accounting team over to Power BI off of an old report manager out of SQL, and he's done a really good job of helping us build out a new forecasting tool as well. I'll just kind of give you a brief background. I originally, my first jobs out of high school were actually in sales. I sold a lot of different things, kitchen knives, natural gas, Microsoft products, and I did really well in sales. I learned a lot how to influence people, how to close deals, and it's been really valuable throughout the rest of my career. But I realized that I didn't want to be in sales for the rest of my career. I really wanted to find a way to solve problems. And so I really focused on supply chain and operations management. It's an area I thought had a lot of potential. And so I completed my degree in commerce and focused on that. I learned a lot about continuous improvement and Lean Six Sigma. And I actually had a job lined up with the government, but due to budgetary cuts in 2016, the job was canceled, and I found a role at Maple Leaf Foods. I really Maple Leaf Foods was it's a meat processing company, not nearly as sexy as as beer, but I got to learn a lot. I got to learn how a manufacturing operation works, how a company makes decisions and rolls out new products. And then I had a chance to go to our Hamilton facility in 2017, where we were losing $30 million a year, and help that team turn it around to close to breaking even on operation expenses by 2019. They then promoted me to get to come back to Saskatoon and lead my own team in production planning and scheduling. And then I did that for 2 years, and they promoted me again. I must have been doing something right, and they gave me the role of Six Sigma Black Belt. They gave me formal training. I got a certification with the Six Sigma Global Institute as a certified Six Sigma Black Belt, and I worked for 2 years doing projects and helping the plant meet its continuous improvement initiatives. I really took all of that. We also did a lot with Power BI with PLCs connected to our equipment to manage operational efficiencies. And I learned a lot about how all of that works together. And I really wanted to learn about the commercial side of the business. So when this role came to me, I mean, I wouldn't have considered myself a data professional going into this role, but I had a lot of skills that I thought could help me in this role. And I've learned as I started as business intelligence manager at Great Western a lot more about the data side of things. So I started with a lot of the continuous improvement and project management skills, and then I learned a lot of the more technical skills over the last year and a bit in this role. And also I'm going to share today. So I'll talk a little bit about what our team does. So we do reporting, creating monthly, weekly, quarterly reports. We do a lot of analysis. Basically, anytime an executive has a question or a manager has a question, they want to know something, they come to my team. And whether we have the data or not, or sometimes it's a quick running report. Sometimes we don't have the data. We have to go source data, build out new reports, build out more complicated analysis. Sometimes it's a long project, some similar to what you're doing with Data for Good, to build out specific analysis and reporting that is needed. We also manage all the territories. It's not probably a traditional role of a data analytics team, but it is really important because having the territories set properly, make sure that everything is balanced for our 20 sales reps, and that we don't want too many customers with one territory manager, and then having that set up properly, make sure that our data integrity is good as well. And it includes things like making sure that there's naming conventions properly set up, that data is merged in the backend history of territories. We also deal with the local governments in Manitoba and Saskatchewan to set up products. A lot of fun. And then we also do a lot of data collection, tracking of things, cleaning new data. And I do a lot of project management, setting up new things. We've always got a lot of different projects on the go. And we also build new reports, build dashboards, and then we also work on technology development. One of the things we're rolling out right now, just to highlight, is Power Apps. So we're starting to use Power Apps with forecasting and with some other applications to help our sales team. So like I mentioned before, Great Western hasn't had a data team for very long. It was just a few years ago that we had a marketing person. They were like a commercial manager. They started doing some of this reporting, and they identified the need for having this team, and the organization got behind it. And it slowly evolved from a lot of really just trying to figure out what happened to actually doing some real analysis. And I would say still at different departments of our company, we're at what I would call like the level 1 of analytics maturity. We're just trying to figure out what happened, especially like in operations. We've still got a lot of very antiquated reporting, but we've really built out sales, and that's where we see the biggest opportunity, where we're starting to figure out why things happen, and we're figuring out what is likely to happen. With our forecasting project, where we did some complex regression analysis to be able to figure out, based on historical sales and a lot of different other levers, what we expect sales to be in the future in Saskatchewan and Alberta, and then be able to plan appropriately with our manufacturing team. I would say we're still trying to build out that level 1 maturity, but it is a journey, and it's not a destination. You have to go one thing at a time, and put one step in front of each other and take baby steps. And we're making a lot of progress, and the organization's really excited about what we've done so far with data internally. So as an organization, I think that's where individually, I want to talk about like your own data analytics journey. And I know some of you may work in data already, or maybe you're looking for your first data job. A lot of people have in this industry have a lot of the technical skills, or they really focus on getting every technical skill that they have, and they do hours and hours of additional training for everything. But when it comes down to the soft skills, they struggle with presentations and influencing key stakeholders. And I think from my experience, not coming from a data background as much, these are the skills that really help you get ahead. And I would put one more thing in there, is continuous improvement skills, is how to come to work every day and make things a little bit better than when you found them. And I'm going to talk about some of those tools. So my background, like I said, is in Lean Six Sigma. Starting in university, I did some work with the Saskatchewan Health Authority, and then I had the opportunity to a lot of different Lean Six Sigma type projects in all of my different roles, eventually leading to being a Six Sigma black belt as a full-time project manager for continuous improvement projects in Maple Leaf. So what is Lean Six Sigma? So Lean, it's really a combination of 2 methodologies. One is Lean, which is really at a high level, it focuses on minimizing and reducing waste. And Six Sigma is really a project management methodology that focuses on reducing variation. And there's a lot of history and a lot that goes into that, but really it culminates in what's in modern times known as Lean Six Sigma. And So what is Six Sigmas, right? So it basically is about reducing the amount of defects in a process to the point where you've only got where you've got almost no defects, essentially very, very close to no defects at at a high level. Lean is really about eliminating waste, and I'll give a few examples of how we can use this methodology. The 8 weights are really meant to be a way of thinking. When you think of waste, a lot of time you think of like physical waste, like garbage. At Maple Leaf, people thought of like meat going into the landfill. But what is it in data? So I'll give a couple examples. So defects, really anytime that you have a bug or an issue with a report that you've created, you're creating a form of waste. You're creating extra time that you have to go to fix something or troubleshoot something, or a customer has to go and spend time on it. Or sometimes the worst thing is you don't realize that there's a defect, and an inaccurate decision is made because there's an error in your model or your report. Another really good example is non-utilized talent. So in this role, as you're kind of evolving and building and growing, you have to change the way that you're functioning based on the talent that you have available to you. So when I took over this role, a lot of things were being done in Microsoft Excel. When we did monthly reporting for competitive analysis, my predecessor ran 140 pivot tables every single month, and it was a huge amount of work. And a lot of times there would be an error in the raw data, and they would have to fix it and then run 140 more pivot tables to put together the PowerPoint. And when I took over the role, it was one of my priorities to fix that, and also put in I got to hire a new person to report to me, and I found somebody who had the skills to be able to build some of those things out. And one of Mike's first projects was building out those Beer Canada reports. So it's a click of a button. We don't have to run any more pivot tables, and we're able to get to the data that we need. So Six Sigma, like I said, it's more of a project management tool philosophy, and really at its core is something called DMAIC. And it's really a good way of thinking about how you do any project. And when you start a project, you define what is the project. A lot of people, they get into it, they get a project assigned to them, and they get right to improve. They jump right to try to make things better right away, and they don't even understand what the problem is that they're trying to solve. Really understanding the customer value that you're trying to provide. And then you go and you measure and you map the process, and you understand. So if you're doing a process for a sales organization of how they change prices, you want to understand the whole process before you start making improvements to it. And this can be done through a simple process map. Then you can apply different analytics depending on what the problem is. With pricing, you might look at something like price elasticity and figuring out some calculations there to help improve setting prices. And then improving, that's where you actually implement the new tool, the new report, whatever is needed in order to help your customers. And then controlling is really about putting processes in place so that it works on an ongoing basis. And if you build things really well, there shouldn't be a lot that you need to add. But a lot of times when you put something in place, you look back 6 months later and it's fallen apart, and that usually means that you didn't put a good process in place. Some of the key problems. So I just want to make sure I'm staying on time for you guys. 12:30. Okay. I just want to leave room for questions at the end. So there will be time for questions if you have any as I go through this. There are 3 big problems I thought as I thought about what you might want to hear today. There's 3 big problems that I see that I've learned from, and one is untapped data potential. So when I started this role, we had mountains of data, sales data, quality data, operations related data, production, So much information, and we're just two people, me and Mike. So we have only so much that we can do. Another thing was report generation versus insightful analysis. So a lot of times you're spending so much of your energy creating reports rather than actually doing analysis to add value. And that's one of the things that I found in this role. And a lot of people, when I took over this role, business intelligence manager, a lot of people didn't even know what that means. There wasn't much of a culture related to using data, or what do we go to that team for. There's a lot of confusion about who we are and what we do. And I'm going to talk about I think these are three things that a lot of you will be able to relate to and pull some things out of. So I'm going to go into these a little bit more in depth. So related to untapped data potential, there are two tools I think are really helpful for evaluating your data. So one, Mike and I sat down last summer and we did a SWOT analysis of our department within Great Western. And we looked at internally what are our strengths and weaknesses and what are our external opportunities and threats. And I think this is a really good, simple tool that anybody can use as a brainstorming exercise within your team to really help set strategy and align on what you want to do. Through that, we identified a lot of opportunities, and then we mapped those on an impact effort matrix. So anything that was really high in effort, high in impact, we stayed away from those for now, but we looked at those in the future. They're just big swings. Anything that was low in impact, high in effort, we stayed away from. Anything that was low in impact, low in effort, we put those on the board sometimes, but we didn't spend a lot of time thinking about them. We really focused on easy wins. So it meant that we weren't going to build out every single piece of data that we had, but we were going to build out the ones that made the most difference. And there's been some that, like, as a data guy, there's some that I really want to build out. We've got a lot of data related to vodka-based beverages, which is a very small part of our business. Because it's such a small part of our business, I can't justify doing it because it's not going to actually create any value at this point, but we'll be able to make some really pretty reports. So sometimes you have to, as you develop maturity in your analytics department, sometimes you have to make those decisions because it's really easy to just make a bunch of pretty reports. And at the end of the day, that's not what is going to help your organization to win. Like I said before, a lot of the time prior to me running the department was spent on building reports, building PowerPoint presentations, pulling Excel data together, mashing different forms of data together, moving things from different platforms. And it was, I would say, exhausting for my predecessor. And there's a few different reasons I think that this happened. So in our case, we had some outdated tools. So prior to Power BI, we were using a SQL-based report manager, and it was very, very difficult to run any kind of analytical data. You could see how much volume was sold, and you could break it apart, but actually filtering and drilling down to a level that you could pull something meaningful from was very difficult. A lot of times there's so many competing priorities that you're being chased for that you don't end up making the improvements that you need to in order to to avoid that. Lack of automation. So a lot of times people don't put things in place so that they run smoothly without manual manipulation, and a lack of the right skills to actually improve and analyze the data. So when I started in this role, I knew how to use Power BI very well in order to pull insights, but I had only built a few dashboards. I was learning a lot, and so in order to compensate for that, I hired somebody who had a computer science background, and we were able to work together in order to complete a lot of really, really good work. I had the project management and continuous improvement side, and Mike had the computer science, Python, SQL, Power BI side, and then we both learned more about the other person's skill set and grew our own skill sets. One thing I wanted to mention, which I talk about, Mike would tell you I talk about all the time, is tech debt. anytime that you make something that's not really a permanent solution, or that you have to go back and fix later, or that causes you extra time in the future, is tech debt. One example I have of that right now is our pricing file. We've got a pricing file. It's built out of Excel. We have not spent the time to integrate it into Power BI yet, and that's because it's going to take a lot of effort to do it properly, and we don't see it having a huge amount of benefits, but it is a ton of tech debt. It's creating a lot of waste in our department where we have to run these reports, and it is going to be something that we fix. But it's really important that you're able to identify what you've got as tech debt, and then start working to pay back the debt. Because even if sometimes it was inherited, if you have an organization that built out way too many reports, or way too complicated reports, and now you have to go back and fix them, that's tech debt that you have to pay. And then going forward, as you do new projects, try to prevent it as much as possible. Don't take the extra time when you're building something, so that it's done right. Cultivating a data-driven culture. So I won't go fully into this. I don't want to. I'll put the pictures up and you can understand them. But really, when it comes to rolling something new out, I've encountered this a lot at Great Western, because even though the company's only 34 years old, there's a lot of kind of the old way of doing things, and really takes a lot of sitting down with people and listening and understanding what their concerns are when you're rolling something new out. When we put in, we just rolled out accounting reports in Power BI, and it took a lot of me sitting down with the different people in the finance team and making sure that they were heard and understood what they needed. And they weren't so super happy about the change, but after implementing things, it saved them a lot of time, and they're happy at the end of the day. And sometimes you have to really, in order to do proper change management, you have to really take that time instead of just forcing a solution through and then people don't actually adopt it. One tool I find really valuable, and I want to share it, it's called stakeholder analysis. So a lot of times when we started this team, people had no idea what our team did. I remember one time our quality supervisor was onboarding a new employee, and they were walking around the office, and they're like, "This is Ross. I don't actually know what he does, but he works here in this office." I'm like, "Thanks." Like, okay, that's a good opportunity to improve. So, basically, the way that you do a stakeholder analysis is you list all of your key stakeholders. So you put quality supervisor, you put your accounting manager, your operations manager, you list them all out on a piece of paper, and you think back to conversations that you've had with them. Where are they on in terms of interest in data, and how much can I influence them? So map everybody out, and then the people that have very high interest and you can influence, you want to target those people first and bring them onto your team. Talk to them one-on-one, talk about ideas of how you can help. The people that have no interest and no influence, you just want to monitor those people. You want to have conversations, get to know them as an individual, try to build the influence, but don't take on a lot of projects with them if you can avoid it. And then the people that on the other two quadrants, you want to try to move them ideally, either to increase their interest or try to increase your influence with them. So if you want to get everybody over to the top right corner, and there are still people in the company that I have not gotten there yet, but as you get people that are singing your praises because you've done great work for them, I have one of the accounting team. We saved her like an hour a week by building one of the accounting reports, and everybody she talks to now, oh, the BI team did this, the BI team did that, and you want those people out there spreading spreading your the message of the value that you can add as a BI team. One thing I want to mention is in this space, I get emails every week with a new tool and a new flavor of the week thing that is out there. And there's more than any one person can possibly know. So I've kind of built out a few high level guidelines for evaluating these things. Identify what your business actually needs. So a lot of times the sexiest new tool out there isn't necessarily what you really need as a company. Don't implement a complex or new solution just for the sake of it. So a lot of times, there's a lot going on with AI right now, and it's the new exciting thing, and there's a lot of good that it can do. But don't just do it because everybody else is doing it. Find the business need of how you can actually add organizational value, and then implement it based on that. And pick things that are scalable. So don't pick a tool because it's affordable and cheap that's going to be out of business in 2 years. Pick something that's going to work with the other systems that you have in place and be able to be part of the future infrastructure that you have. And avoid tech debt. So don't put in place things that are going to have to be eliminated in 6 months because they were built on the cheap or not in the right way. And make sure that they are easy to use. So there are going to be some tools that are, 1 or 2 people in your organization are going to use, like Python. Mike is, I think, the only person in the organization that can code in Python. But it's not something we're going to roll out to the entire organization. We use it on a case-by-case basis for specific projects. I think I would get a lot of crazy looks if I told my CEO that I think we should roll out Python to the whole organization. So you want to really find things that will work for the business needs and will be easy to use and roll out. I want to provide one actual example of a project that we've done. I'm pretty careful about the data that we share because we're a private company. Everything is like unknown by the general market, so it's kind of a competitive advantage that we have. But I did want to share this because it's really public information. There's articles about what's going on in this space every month or two. This was actually I went right from not having any of this data available to building out this report in my first year in this role. So when we came on board, there was like January of 2023, there was a lot of talk about non-alcoholic, and you'd hear articles about it growing by X amount. And I went to Beer Canada. I was able to get to start getting a data feed every month of all of the countrywide data of every non-alcoholic SKU that's registered by a major brewer. And then we built out this, and we did segmentation analysis. So looking at the value, the premium space, doing compounded annual growth rates, looking at the top 10 brands, looking at what the different pack formats are. And then that helped us generate the right product. So we launched a 6-pack of premium cans in the space, and we're really excited about how it's going. And we monitor this on an ongoing basis. If you don't know this about beer, but beer is not growing overall in Canada. It is there's a lot of other things that are fighting with beer, like ready to drink beverages, non-alcoholic, other spirits. And it's the biggest category itself as beer, but it is in decline. So looking for opportunities like this where there's huge growth rates is really exciting in our industry. And I'll just wrap up with a few pieces of advice that I thought of. So 1, find the low-hanging fruit. Make sure that you're focusing on the things that will be quick wins and spread those messages. Focus on developing your soft skills. Influence others, work with your key stakeholders, take every opportunity you can to give presentations and to be able to develop influential leadership skills. and then build relationships and practical experience. I thought I would feed right back into data for good, because this is the perfect place for you to do this. Build relationships within the community by supporting nonprofits who need help, and build practical experience where you can actually make things better. That's everything I have. I am open for questions if anybody would like to know more.
And thanks for shouting out helping out nonprofits. Really appreciate that one, Ross. Actually, I do have a question here. I am just interested here. So you talked about impact and effort. I was kind of curious if you have a system that you applied to figuring out impact versus effort, or was that more just you and Mike just eyeballing it and saying this thing looks high impact, this thing looks high effort. Like what was that methodology?
So yeah, we did figure out an actual amount of time that it would take to complete. I have it written down, but I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. I think if we said a project would take less than a month to complete, it was a low effort project. If it was 1 to 3 months, it was a medium effort project. And if it was a 3 month plus or 4 month plus project, it would be high effort. And then on impact, we like I said, if there was a dollar amount that it would save, like if we were like, okay, this project will add $200,000 to the bottom line, if we would assess based on dollars, and over a certain amount of dollars was high impact. Sure. And then we also like assess time. So like if something would save like a certain amount of hours per week, and some of it was a little bit subjective. If we couldn't figure out an exact impact, but we knew there would be some soft benefits that would be impactful, we tried to assess it based on that.
Yeah, and we did something similar as an analytics manager, and you're right. Like you kind of have to just be okay with the fact that it is going to be a little bit subjective. So
yeah,
I get that.
It is a directional tool to, like you do also have to use your instinct to make the decision of like what actually will have a high impact. But in my CI background, we only looked at dollars. So we when we did the impact effort on all of the project pipeline that we had at Maple Leaf, we said X amount of dollars is low, X amount of dollars medium, X amount of dollars is high, and it was very clear cut.
You just have to cut it off in a place. And we have a question in the chat here from Barid. What tools are you using to manage analytics projects and snowballing backlogs?
Yeah, great question. I hadn't heard of snowballing either. But what we do is we use Trello. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that tool as well but it's basically it's actually like a Kanban tool. So it's essentially like meant to manage cards, and we document everything to do with a project in a card on Trello. We've got like a part of it that's specifically for pipeline projects. Anything that we've vetted through a business case goes into like a next priority. And then it comes down to impact, effort, and making sure that the right next project is picked. And then Mike has a in progress list. I have an in progress list. And then anytime we get anything sent to us, we make a card right away, and then we have a weekly meeting to review all the cards and make sure everything's updated, flowing through. And I will say we haven't always done the process perfectly. Like there has been times where we've like just gotten flustered and gotten away from it, but it's the kind of thing that you really need to there's a discipline to doing it, and but it's a really useful tool in order to manage those priorities properly.
And there's another one here from Corinne, just asking, I'm sorry if you already addressed this, but are you doing data modeling at a project or enterprise level to help you understand, clean, and integrate your data?
So we do, I would say a lot of times we're relying on Sean and Adel for more of the data modeling, though Mike is starting to do a lot of it, but a lot of it we are going to external people to build, especially like our sales data model. It's very complex. It pulls from a lot of different data sources, and it would be beyond my personal expertise. So we go to an external like data scientist for that kind of stuff. We are building out a new data model for a distributor in Alberta that we're going to be dealing with, and we're Mike and I are trying to do it on our own. It's a lot more simple of a data model, and we can steal some of the things from our existing data model. So we're trying to do it on our own without using a consultant, both for cost and our own personal development. But those kind of things are very complex. So we want to make sure that it's done properly. So we may have to pull in Sean or Adel as needed.
Oh, thanks. We got the questions from Scott here.
Yeah, maybe just real quick, because I know we're running out of time. What is your tech stack? I've heard a little bit of the Microsoft stuff, but what are you kind of using to put stuff forward?
Yeah, so we're using Power BI for front end data visualization. We have SQL Server for our data warehouse. Like I said, Mike does use some Python for certain projects, and we really try to use the Microsoft suite of products as much as possible. Power Apps. We're looking at starting to use a little bit of Power Automate, but even I do a little bit of data collection every month using Microsoft Forms. We try to use as many of the Microsoft products as we can, and we use a lot of Microsoft Excel still as an organization. We try as much to move things into Power BI, but there's always going to be a certain amount in our business that's done through Microsoft Excel.
Makes sense.
And are you on-prem versus cloud?
We are still on-prem. We're just backed up on cloud, but I did a large evaluation of doing a full data migration to Azure last year. It's just the cost is quite high for the migration, so we're just waiting for the right time in terms of getting approval from our executive to do the project and the resources required, because it's going to be a very large project. Our data is our jobs are built in a very complicated and convoluted way, and it's going to require rebuilding all of the jobs and scripts in our SQL Server. So it's going to take a huge amount of work to do the complete migration, but it will be something that we do. It's just a matter of when.
I don't see too many others, although I do have one quick question before we wrap up here. So you did talk about Lean Six Sigma, and I'm just kind of curious if you've had a chance to apply that. Like, I know you talked about how it relates to the data side, but have you found an actual chance to apply that in any of the problems you've dealt with in the business so far?
Yeah, I mean, there's been really been a lot of times where I've used different tools, kind of from what I would call like the Lean Six Sigma tool belt. Some of the things are as simple as like one of the tools is called 5S, and it's really about like organization, finding a place for everything in its place. And I kind of was the poster child for how and where we store all of our files. It was really, really bad here a year and a half ago. Every department had a different way of storing their files, and it was like almost impossible to find anything that you needed. In my first 90 days on the job, without being prompted, I knew that was something I needed to do. So I used 5S. I did a restructuring of it, and then I promoted that, and it became a company-wide requirement basically to do for every department manager. So I can give a lot of different examples of where we've used different tools. A lot of times in the bigger projects that I've ran, using the methodology, mapping processes, doing specific data analysis. Regression is part of the Six Sigma methodology. There's lots of different tools.
No, I appreciate that, Ross. I just wanted to see, because oftentimes those two worlds don't cross. So I really interested in that. But again, it's 1 o'clock. So everybody, I just wanted to thank you all for coming out today. It was very much appreciated. Our next meetup is going to be May 16th. And we'll be sending out some more information on that. We'll also send out some more information on a in-person meetup we'll be looking to do around the June timeframe. Probably it's going to be coinciding with that demo day for the meetup, but we just have a few other things to send out. So look for that. And once again, if you're interested in volunteering or getting involved, we have a lot of different opportunities for people to help out. We have projects coming down the pipeline all the time, but we do also need some acute help on getting content together, building up the organization. So if that's of an interest to you, highly encourage you to reach out. I put my email in the chat, so feel free to reach out and go ahead and give Ross a like on LinkedIn or something, or send him some positive vibes for such a great presentation. So thanks so much, Ross, and for everybody else, have yourselves a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.